Welcome to a special episode of What's in the Box. Today is special because I received Mondo 6 scale Creature from the Black Lagoon. Of course, this is one of my favorite creatures from the Universal Monsters. And boy, does he come in a sizable box. The box is actually the art of Jason Edmondson. I actually have this poster, an artist proof of this poster over there hanging on my wall. Great artist, has been lately doing Universal Monsters, and hopefully he'll continue those. But nice little box. I don't usually get into boxes, so I'll just get into my love for the creature. This is a fantastically done suit. Say what you will about the movie, which if you watch it, you'll probably say, hey, this is where Spielberg stole Jaws. But the creature itself is fantastically done. I feel like there's only one other suit in cinema history that equals this, and that is the Predator. They are done so well that you just simply believe that this thing is walking around, as fantastical as it may be. I myself have studied this suit up and down, so I look forward to kind of getting into this and seeing what all the figure entails, how accurate it may be. There was some things I didn't care for looking at this figure initially, and that was mostly in-hand pics that showed that its hands and its feet and its head were slightly discolored from the rest of the body. I'm hoping that's just a trick of the camera, but we'll see what's inside the box right now. Okay, so first impressions right out of the box. If you can see this face, yeah. Opening this up, it was just like pure joy to me. I will pick at it a little bit. I don't know yet. I haven't looked at it past just setting it up for you guys. First and foremost, I was curious about this figure's height. The creature was second to only Frankenstein in height. So I made sure to bring along an extra figure to kind of see where he landed. I'm hoping he feels a little taller. I'm hoping that they went pretty tall on him, so we'll see by using Sideshow's Beetlejuice. Now Beetlejuice, at the very top of his hair, is exactly 12 inches tall. And we have the creature coming in at about a ½ inch taller than that. So we're looking at 12.5 inches, which, if you know anything, in a 12-inch figure, 2 inches equals a foot. So he's 6'6" if he were to be human size. And that's pretty darn close to what the creature actually was in the film, suited up over Ben Chapman and Rico Browning. Although Rico Browning was smaller, he was meant for the swim scenes, but any on land scenes was done by Ben Chapman. Yeah, so I'm super happy. I will throw out my first nitpick right now. The base. Okay. Nice, funky shape. Blank as blank can get. There's nothing on this. Except Mondo managed to emblazon the bottom of the stand with their logo. We don't care about your giant logo on the bottom of a stand. I would have, that seems kind of harsh, but I would have liked to have seen their logo on the top, somewhere small, maybe along with the Universal logo, in a placard on the front. This could have been the face of the creature, a decaled fake swamp bottom or water or anything, but we got nothing. There's not even anything to tell us that this is a Universal Monster product. And I would have liked to have seen that Universal logo on there somewhere. So that's a bit of a nitpick. I'm a little hard on it, but I don't get the point of this being on the bottom of the base. Now, back to the awesomeness that is this figure. I don't know. Let's just start off with accessories. First off, you get a pair of swim hands. These aren't too much different from the regular hands, but they're actually splayed open for that swimming look, which I would like to pull off with the figure. You can see those there. They've got nice little claws on them. The claws are sort of a yellowish, tannish color, and the hands are green with a brown wash. You also get a pair of splayed swimming feet, and those are quite a bit bigger than his regular feet. That's pretty cool. I like those. As far as heads go, you get the standard head here. You get his Gillman breathing head, which is a classic. Several moments throughout the film where he's doing this gasping thing and his throat bubbles up and expands. Really cool, and they knew to include that for sure. And then you get his swimming head. The reason this is known as the swimming head is the eyes are black, first off. Second off, Rico Browning wore goggles underneath the mask that would kind of look like fish eyes. Basically, the whole head was built around something like that. But he had these goggles on, and sometimes he'd just wear no goggles at all, so it'd just be this black space inside the eyes. But yeah, that's cool too. Now, the one thing I don't remember them even saying that they would have on this figure or in this package was the artifact claw seen in the movie. This is a former creature of some type, bone hand, and that's a really cool extra item. I love that. Now, on to the figure. We've talked about his height, and thankfully he is in proportion with the film. Now let's talk about the sculpt. I have done a great deal of research on this outfit because I have worked on my own sculpt of the creature, a bust. And so I tend to like to be very accurate with what I'm doing. And so we're going to see just how accurate this figure is. Now I can tell you from the heads that I'm looking at, I don't even have to really look at this one. They're pretty close to the same other than the mouth area and the eyes. I think it's pretty darn close. What would I would probably put it in the 90% range. There's not a whole lot to pick at here. The front of the face is actually considerably accurate. There were always these rolls that kind of came off the top of his nose and into the lip. The lips done quite well. It's hard to tell, but it's missing a slight little bit of, that little thing that comes off the bottom of your lip. That was kind of in the sculpt just a little bit. It's hardly noticeable in the film. They got the edging right around the edge of the eyes. The brows are pretty close to right. I think, my personal opinion, they were not as thick and outward as these are, but not a huge problem. They even got the edge going into the gills correct, so that's cool. He had 3 sets of gills, each set of gill getting considerably larger as they went. they've got that right. They've even got the way the edges of the gills kind of shift around the edge. I mean, pretty good. Now the big thing in the details on the head here is that these gills swooped up to a point on the back of his head. Even in my sculpt, it does the exact same thing. Got that right. What I probably would have liked to have seen, although the film being so old and not a massive amount of detailed shots, is on the top of this dome, anywhere that he was kind of bare, which was mostly just his head, at least a little bit of creasing and stuff, just like a little skin texture. That would have given it a less toy-like feel here in the dome, but that's me nitpicking. Now, one thing that they didn't exactly do, and that could come down to just articulation purposes, is that this fin that runs down his entire back actually goes up his head and sort of ends right about here in the back of his head. So there should have still been an extension of fin, even though getting smaller and smaller as it goes to that point of the head. There isn't any on this figure. So that's where I would pick at it some. One thing I'm glad they didn't do, which is something they did on quite a few of the posters, is give the character ruby red lips. It's just stupid. He doesn't wear lipstick. I hate that about posters and various art at the time. But, you know, very few people knew what exactly he looked like on set, especially the minor details like that. Luckily, they went with sort of a skin tone, which, yeah, that's not bad. It's not pink, but it's not yellow. It's not tan exactly. So it's somewhere in the middle of all those three. Not bad at all. Where to next? Well, we also have the suit. What did the suit look like, and did they get this accurately? As far as the build goes, I think it's fairly accurate to his build in the film. He was fairly thin, even though he did have a suit on, and I think that's acceptable. There's nothing I can think of that I would pick at. Articulation wise, you know, you've got your basic arm joints here. I'll have to deal with those somehow. There we go. There we go. So you got your basic arm joints there. Not bad. So you've got wrist, elbow, and shoulder articulation. Yes, these go all the way up, folks. 6 scale is known for the arms only going at about a 45-degree angle. Thank God they did something pretty fantastic with this, because of that, you can get him in some decent little swim poses. So that's really nice. Past that, of course, ankle, knee. Look at that. Look at that. That's exactly what you want. You want to be able to get these legs positioned where he can swim. That's pretty fantastic, actually. And then he has apparently several points of articulation in the abs. You have a little bit of articulation in the waist. Most of it's in the midsection, and then you have some up top. So you'll be able to get some poses out of him for sure. Now, I worried about the skin color between feet, hands, and head. Let's talk about skin color in general to start. It's pretty well known that people that were on the set, people who experienced this creature, said that he was a mossy green. Can't remember if they mentioned much else, but it was clear he was a mossy green, and they've got that right here. Now, in person, there is some discoloration in the feet and hands and head. Let me just give me a second and I'll turn this away from you guys and take a look. It's noticeable just staring at him, but it's not quite that noticeable at a glance. Here's the problem, and here's why it's so different paint-wise. This body has so much in the way of detail that when you throw a wash over a figure like this, if not every part of the body has that same detail, the wash is going to, because there's so many cracks and crevices in the body, the wash is going to make the body look much darker than any of the extremities, hands, feet, and even the head. So that's where the discoloration is coming from. Does that bother me? It's not all that noticeable. It may be on camera, but it's not as noticeable in the head as it might be in the hands and feet. I think if they had just gone another wash or two on the hands and feet and head, this would have probably matched up a little better. But again, it's not quite the paint so much as it is the detail. You know, when you get into the hands, they're lacking that scaly look. So the wash has nothing to grab onto, or at least not as much to grab onto. But if they'd have spent a little more time in the details of the hand, the knuckles, the palms, which are, all of this is pretty darn accurate, I think it would have looked a little bit better. There's not a ton you can do with the head other than just to continue to darken in the gills and around the nose and the brow. This bulbous head is just, it's going to be what it's going to be, and the paint has nothing to really sink into there. So yeah, there is some discoloration, but it's really not horrific. Like I said, you stare at it, it's going to be a problem. Otherwise, you're okay. So, let's just take a quick look at the sculpt on the suit. All the details here, the scaling is accurate. Even these little bumps along his shoulder are accurate. I think personally they were a little bit bigger than what they are here, but decent, pretty well done. Chest is well done. They even got this little expanse in the chest here, and that was for when they changed out the suit. They could take this out, put it together, and it would fit over Rico Browning, a smaller guy, and tighten up on him. As far as the stomach goes, that's accurate. He has these little details that goes right down the middle of the stomach. I feel that those are more pronounced in the movie, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit more detail there, but still not bad. Fins are pretty accurate. They come down the back and into a Y like in the movie. I can't remember if he continues to have those on his thighs, but they do come back here on his calves. But I'm pretty thrilled with this. I really hope we get an entire line, much like NECA's figures. I hope we get a 6-scale line of Universal monsters. I want to see the Wolfman, Frankenstein, and Dracula for sure. Would hope for Invisible Man, the Mummy, even the Bride. I immediately bought this without hesitation because I wanted to support that line and hope that Mondo continues to do some. Again, major nitpick is give us a decent base. Second up is the slight discoloration, but other than that, I think it's fantastically done. You're going to get those swim poses. I can't wait to kind of work with that and figure that out. And you get plenty of little head options, hand options, and even the petrified fossil hand. So that's really neat to me, and I'm super happy with it. And hopefully you guys will pick it up. It's a sideshow. I think they still have some. Don't quote me on that, but it's totally worth it. I think it was a little under 200. It was like 170 somewhere in there, and I happened to use some reward points for it. So yeah, awesome to me. Hopefully you guys like it, and hopefully this line continues. Until next time, this is what's in the box. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell.